All right. Welcome to Tempo Community Call, December 2024. Last one of the year, last and best. We should have done a top 10 things this year. Wow, totally missed that. Maybe we'll do that in January. December 2024 edition. We have a somewhat short agenda, but I'll point out that at the end, we've added an AMA. It's always open for questions, but kind of explicitly. If you have questions about operating tempo or about any of the things that are going on in our world or future plans, this is a great forum to ask. You have direct access to the developers and people who work every day on this project. So this is a great resource if you have some interest or any kind of questions. So feel free to think of those as we go through the agenda. You're welcome to post them in chat towards the end or unmute and talk. We take questions in all forms. All right. Agenda. The first thing on the agenda is we would like to deprecate the old block format that most of you probably don't even know exists. We used to have a block format called V2. And this format was used for trace ID lookup only, and we kept it in Tempo 2.0 because it is very efficient at trace ID lookup only. We were aware of a few folks using it, but as far as I'm aware, that has ended. And there's a fair amount of code in Tempo now that's dedicated to keeping this older block format alive. So I'm floating that idea here first. We'll likely create an issue, but we are considering removing support for this in an upcoming release. So I would be shocked. Does anybody here even know V2 exists? Maybe that's a good question to start with. And take this as a solid no. Not even my own team members on this call know.
I heard rumor.
Heard rumor it exists. Yeah, okay. It's somewhere in there. Whispers behind the scenes. Okay, I don't think anybody knows this thing exists. We would really like to remove it. I think we're going to do what we normally do, create an issue in the repo, probably mention again in this call, probably post it in Slack, do our best to get word out for folks who might actually care. So if there is a person out there continuing to use this format, they very much want it, we can have a discussion with them to see how valuable it is to keep, or maybe what their needs are and if we can meet those without V2. Okay. So I'm kind of glad nobody knows what it is because it might make our lives a whole lot easier. All right. So moving on to some of the latest changes. The past month, and honestly the past few months, have been characterized internally by a lot of operational issues. We've had tons of growth in our cloud, and so a lot of the team's focus has been improving performance and resource usage and operational concerns in Tempo, fixing bugs. So I think 2.7 is largely going to be a bug fix release, and the past month has been very much in that vein. So I've got some links here of some of the things we've been working on. I'll mention a few of these briefly, but for the most part, expect 2.7 to be faster, use less resources, and fewer issues. And I think we have a small feature or two, like I think we have a couple of TraceQL additions, but for the most part, this is going to be a bug fix and performance improvement release. So you can see there, we realized that if your compactors are unstable, they can actually duplicate data. They can recreate more data than instead of deduping data, they create more data. So we've put some code in to prevent that. A lot of ingester and generator performance improvements from a lot of people on this call. But you should see resource usage, especially in memory, go down on both of these processes. And these are definitely our most memory hungry processes. We have switched to the Prometheus fast regex. This means the behavior of the regexes will change a bit. This will be mentioned in the blog post and the changelog and all the details, the release notes. But the Prometheus fast regex anchors all regular expressions. And that means that you do this right now in Tempo 2.6, it is a substring search. In 2.7, that will be an exact match search because all regexes will be anchored, which means I'm going to get this wrong. Is this it? or is it the reverse of this?
We are not seeing your screen, Joe.
Oh, thank you. I was typing in the agenda. Thanks, Avi. Appreciate that, guy. So let me bump up the font here a bit. So I always mix these up, the beginning and end of a regex. Is this right at $1 first, or is it caret first? Does nobody know off the top of their head?
Caret first. Dollars at the end.
Yeah.
Dang it. I always mess that up. Okay. So your regex will be anchored. So this right now, just like, attribute regex bar is a substring search. It will become a fully anchored search like this. So they'll become exact match. So if you want this behavior, if you want this substring search, you're going to write something like this. And there's, I think, some different variants of this. But this would, for instance, search for the search bar with, any number of characters on either side, any number of symbols on either side. So there will be a small a change in behavior there, but I think it's going to be, or it is a lot faster. We know this. In addition, it will also play nicer with Grafana dashboards. Grafana dashboards are all built around Prometheus regex because they have those templated drop downs, and you can select multi-selection kind of things, and it's all built around the Prometheus style regexes. So I think this will actually also make us more compliant and more predictable in the way we behave with Loki and Mimir, Prometheus, and all this like ecosystem of tools. So this will be a nice improvement in 2.7. TraceQL metrics bug, we fixed a few of them, but this one created strange spikes about 30 minutes before now, where double count a few spans, and that's a nice fix. And I think there's a couple other TraceQL style fixes in there. I think we're always fixing something with TraceQL. And then Kim, you've got some information about the docs. Do you want to chat about that?
Sure. We had we updated the tempo distributed Helm chart documentation and some values for the Helm chart to add information about global overrides and tenant based overrides. There were some comments in the community that this was very confusing. We had 6 or 7 open issues. So hopefully these updates will address those things.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, I think you're right. There was a fair amount of confusion about how to configure this correctly and what the meaning of some of the stuff in the values YAML is. And Kim and Heads worked on a nice PR to just improve the comments around these fields to improve understanding, hopefully, and help people operate tempo. Thank you. Very good. 2.7, so we mentioned a few things that we worked on the past month. Those will obviously all be in 2.7, as will the past 3 months or so of work. If we look at the changelog, it's gotten kind of ridiculously long. To Pavel's question, this is going to happen next month. So we were talking about doing it now, but with the holidays and people on and off, it'd be kind of difficult, we feel like, to get it out. And most people are probably not really concerned about rolling out a new version of Tempo now. So first thing, when we get back in our seats in January, we'll cut a 2.7 RC0, probably do the normal, wait a week or so, make sure that that's looking good, and then cut the full release 2.7. If you you glance down through the changelog, I mean, lots and lots of performance improvements. Look at the enhancements list, is quite long. Bug fixes, like I said, really expect a lot of like a less of a feature release, more of a performance improvement style release. I do see like a TraceQL feature here, instrumentation scope here. So there are some features we've added, but it's mostly like operational improvements in 2.7. Ooh, I should talk about this. I should have mentioned this. I am going to put this in the agenda. So we have by default removed gRPC compression. It is simple to re-enable gRP. This impacts the read and the write path. We were seeing heavy memory and CPU usage on certain queries in the query front end. It was using gzip, which is the default. So the queries are passing back tons of jobs, and if those jobs were large, like in a metrics query, then it was gzipping those and unzipping those in the front end, and it was eating up a ton of CPU in the front end and memory. On the write path, we also saw significant CPU improvements for disabling. So it was snappy, and we disabled it completely in our cloud environments, and we're seeing a significant performance improvement there with CPU down in the distributors. So take a look at both of those. Now, some people might still prefer it. We strongly recommend Snappy over gzip. Gzip is a very memory and CPU hungry kind of compression. And Snappy is meant to be a balance between some kind of like very high compression and resource usage. So the PR mentions this, the changelog mentions this, we'll mention it in the release notes and all the normal places, but we are going with disabled by default. We think it behaves the best. But if you are conscious of your bandwidth between your processes, you might find that Snappy is the better choice, and this will be mentioned for sure. Cool. And then Pavel, I answered this. Okay, so January, like first thing, we're gonna start working on 2.7. Expect a blog post. I guess we're doing a video. Bam, are we doing a video this time? Maybe. We'll try to do a video. I think we're doing a video. Only if Fam says so. I'm listening to her on this one. And I think we're at the AMA. We made it. 15 minutes in. We made it to the Ask Us. Is that an AUA anything? An Ask Us anything. So, like I said, this is a great forum here. You have a lot of folks who work on this project, from docs, operations, coding, every aspect you can imagine. So if you have questions about performance or configuration or just roadmap, whatever, feel free to ask away. Nothing. But Marty's got a question. What's up, Marty?
How is everybody's tempo clusters behaving? Cool. Yeah.
Fantastically, except where we accidentally almost scheduled a bunch of ingesters on ARM nodes, and it wouldn't have worked if we tried to move them back. But we just saved ourselves this morning.
I still need to merge that.
We should probably do that.
I'll merge it. No.
It was something we did find. This was an interesting find on our side. We had a number of nodes, and this applies to all Go programs. We had a number of nodes in our various cloud clusters. You know, we were running Kubernetes on AWS, GCP, and Azure that were using CPUs that had multiple NUMA zones, which I've learned about in the past week. These are like areas of CPU and memory with fast access. And Go is unaware of this particular detail of CPU architecture. And if you happen to run Tempo or any Go program on a node that has a processor that has multiple NUMA zones, it will consume significantly more CPU and memory than it should. So I would recommend, if you run any Go programs, and I imagine a lot of people on this call do, if you run any Go programs in the cloud, double check this. Go look to see if you have multiple NUMA zones on your nodes, and maybe you want to move off those. We have been struggling with that for the past month. We had significant CPU and memory elevation in one of our cells. We were sweating it for a month, could not figure out what was going on, thought it maybe was some strange write pattern, and it turned out to be like a detail of the CPU architecture that some of the ingesters were sitting on. So maybe I'm telling you all something you all know, but I did not know this. Cool. All right, crew. Well, was it one question? We had one question. When is Tempo 2.7 coming? It was an important question. We got it answered. All right. Well, it's been pleasant talking to y'all. I hope you all have a great holiday. See you all in early January, and we will have 2.7 go rolling. And yeah, we'll review the changelog and talk about what we're working on now. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.